Hello, welcome or welcome back to the Safety Bloom podcast. I'm your host, Gabrielle Bailey. I'm so glad you are here, whether it's your first time, whether you are returning. I'm glad you're in the building with me. I'm glad you are here with me. Y'all, I want to talk about us shrinking because I feel like at this present time, in this present season, now granted, this can apply to any time in your life, right? But with how things are going right now, I've been noticing that the people of God were starting to pull back a little bit and starting to kind of shrink and question who we are because of, what God has asked us to build, what God has asked us to do. And it's just so much. And it's not, for some people, it might be something that, when it pops up, it happens, they kind of shrink back a little bit based off of what they're going through, whatever. But for other people, it is a lifestyle. It's not one that we were intended to live in, but it is something that some of us have been operating from. And I really want us to come out of agreement with that mindset and to fully walk into who we are called to be. That's really the whole purpose of this podcast, is to encourage you to walk in your authentic self, to be everything that God has called you to be, to show up in all the ways that you are called to show up. And how can we do that if we're too busy shrinking? If we're too busy putting ourselves down, if we're too busy dressing ourselves up to look and be presented a certain way because we don't feel like we are enough? We can't. Because what God has given you, who he has made you to be, all the stuff that is inside of you is necessary. It's necessary for the kingdom of God. It's necessary for the world who needs to be able to see an example, a testimony, all of these things. It is necessary for you to be able to see the growth that is inside of you, to see everything that God has placed inside of you, because he didn't place these things inside of you for it to sit dormant. He placed it inside of you so you can be activated and walk in purpose and walk in authority. So I was reading Exodus, I want to say, I can't remember exactly which chapter, but one of the early ones, somewhere between 1 and 4. It was talking about how, I don't know, let me just say the story of Moses, just in case nobody, not everybody knows everything about the Bible. So I'm just going to give a quick breakdown, okay? Moses was born in a time where a whole lot of babies were getting killed. And his mom put him in a little basket, pushed him down that river, and was just like, Lord, I leave it in your hands. And he ended up getting adopted by one of the Egyptian women, but she was like, in the palace and all that stuff, doing her little sneak or whatever. And so he lived his life thinking that he was Egyptian. Well, did he? We're not fully breaking this down, and I can't remember at this moment. But either way, he lived his life there and then ended up leaving. And when he left, he didn't really leave on the greatest terms. And by really, I mean, he did not, because he was out here killing folk. Because he was like, these are my people, the Israelites, and they're out here being slaves. And I don't like that. I don't like that. But, he didn't really go about it the best way. So he escaped, he did his own little thing, and then God called him and was like, hey, my boy, guess what? Pull up, yeah, come see me. Let me talk to you real quick. Guess what? I'm calling you to lead my people out. And Moses was just like most of us. We're just like, I think you have the wrong number. I don't know if you mean me. I don't know how I'm going to do this. The math, I don't know that the math is nothing here, Lord, right? And God was like, hush, it's you. And Moses kept coming up with all these excuses and was just like, but Mr. Sir, my voice, I don't talk that good. Ugh. Sometimes I say certain words that Bostonian just come out. I'm trying to hide it, y'all. trying to suppress it. I don't talk. I don't talk very well. Why would you ask me to do this thing and go before these people and tell them what you say when I'm not sounding that good, right? And he kept trying to be like, okay, but God, I can't talk to these people. Please don't let me talk to these people. And God eventually was like, okay, sir, we're going to let your brother do the talking for you, right? And every time I've read that, I've just been like, what would have happened if Moses didn't try and shrink himself and act like what God gave him wasn't enough and just decided to pull up anyways? Like, what could God have done if he decided, you know what? You're asking me to do this thing. You're asking me to use my voice. You're asking me to lead and to go before these people when I have all this stuff working against me. Like, I was with the folks that have all of my people captive. And you want me to go before them and tell them that you're setting them free? And like, everybody knows that I don't kill this man, and it's been some time. It ain't been months, it's been years. I ain't been here, like, and I don't sound the best. I don't talk the best. I don't look the best. I don't dress the best. I'm not Miss Popular. I don't know if you're the one that you know what I'm saying? All this stuff. But what if he said, regardless, use me, Lord? We think that some of these things that are inside of us are so defected, so incapable of being used, so unnecessary, so unworthy, so disgusting sometimes we feel like, that we try and tell God, no, but don't use that thing. And we try and shrink back when we do use it and try and give a half version of who we authentically are. We've decided that because my voice doesn't sound as good compared to this person, I'll only use my voice but so much. I use it to a certain capacity. I'm going to pull up, but I'm not really going to give my all. I'm going to give my all based off of what I feel comfortable giving, but I'm not going to give my all based on what has already been planted inside of me. What God has given you, what God has purposed you to do, who God made you to be is enough for you to go forth and execute in the things that God is calling you to execute in. When you get inside your head and start telling yourself that I can't do it, that I'm not enough, that if I compare myself to this person, the math doesn't math at all, right? We try and do this complicated math. We try and make it E equals MC squared and all this other stuff. And it's really 1 + 1 = 2. It's really that basic. It really is. And we overcomplicate things and we just create all these excuses. And we tell God that who he created is not enough to operate in the things that he called us to operate in and to use the things that he has placed inside of us. So we think it's best for us to shrink back. It's best for us to not show up 100% in the way that God has called us to because we don't like the way that we sound. We don't like the way that we look. We don't feel that what God has placed on this earth is enough. So if I shrink back some, then maybe I'll get rejected less. If I shrink back some, then maybe I won't feel as hurt. But we got to be obedient. We got to stop just trying to do a partial thing and do exactly what God has asked us to do. Because if he asked you to do it, then guess what? You can do it. I feel like a broken record saying this, and I'm saying it to myself too. But if he has called us to do it, if he has asked us to do it, then baby girl, sir, you can do exactly that. We got to stop thinking that we are not enough. We have to stop slapping God in his face and telling him that his creation is not good enough. He knows what he placed inside of you. He knows who he called. He knows those things that you look at and you think is not good enough is exactly what is needed for such a time as this. You are enough in everything that God has placed inside of you. You are enough with how you show up. Don't you dare sit there and say that you can't be authentically you because of all the stuff that you've been through. Because of everything that people have said about you and how they have mislabeled you and said all this crazy stuff about you. They might have said some awful things. They might have done some awful things to you. But guess what? It's time we take the narrative back. It's time we stop giving ourselves a partial version of ourselves and thinking that that is enough. Child, I don't wrote so many notes. I don't even know. I don't know what I'm talking about. We think that because there are imperfect pieces of us that it counts us out, but those very things may be what God desires to use. The thing that Moses was like, about was his voice. He wasn't trying to do all that. He wasn't trying to do all that talking. He wasn't trying to pull up in that capacity. And so he told God, no, you can't use that one thing. But if that's the one thing that God asked him to use, then that means that it wasn't useless. Then that means that, okay, you might be struggling with your voice, right? You might have a little stutter or a little lisp or whatever he had going on. You might have a little something. But you don't think that God's grace is enough to cover you to do exactly what you need to do? You know what I'm saying? It's rude. It's rude to keep telling God that the thing that you are asking me to use, that you know that I can use, that you have called me to use, is gross and ineffective and unnecessary. Excuse me? Not my creation. No. We gotta stop shrinking back. We gotta stop thinking that it's okay if we just give a partial version of ourselves that looks and is presented a certain way, or we just go but so far and then hide the rest of it because we gotta stop hiding. We gotta stop hiding. Oh God, that one cut me. Cause I be trying to hide you. I really do. But I can't hide no more. I mean, clearly. Because hello, you, me, you. We're here right now. I can't hide, but I'm gonna stop trying to find them loopholes. What did I write? There's a blessing attached to your obedience, yes, but there is something powerful that happens when you walk in your authentic self. It is important to obey what God said, but we also need to pull up in the way that He is calling us to pull up. Because if we're not giving 100% of what God is asking us to give, then are we still really fully being obedient? You know what I'm saying? If God asked me to write a book, but I just kind of make it bland and not using my tone and just kind of putting some stuff in there, putting it together, and then putting it out for the people to read, but it's not authentic to who I am. It's not authentic to my sound, which means the people who are supposed to be called to aren't receiving. Then was I fully being obedient? I don't think so. Shrinking back hurts not just you. Shrinking back hurts not just you, but those who are assigned to you. People need to see you. They need to hear you. They need to be with you. They need to feel you. They need whatever. Okay? They need to get the authentic you. And hear me. I'm not saying that you need to overdo it. I'm not saying that you need to constantly give up yourself so much that you are drained. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about you just pulling up as who you are. Gabrielle's gonna pull up as Gabrielle. And that's it. I spent so much of my life altering who I was, how I showed up based off of who I was around and what I felt like they needed. Just as a person, what version of me they want, or what is that word? Situationally? Is that a word? I don't know. Based off of situations, I would change how I showed up because, oh, okay, in this moment you need someone funny. Oh, okay, in this moment you need someone who's protective. You need someone who's safe. You need someone who's loving. You need someone that's, you know what I'm saying? Go handle their business about you. I mean, I'm not out here fighting. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I'm going to tell people about themselves. I'm saved, sanctified, Holy Ghost filled, fire baptized. I'm not hitting nobody. I'm not. However, I was giving a version of myself to every single person. It did not matter. I did that as a child. I grew up, I had my brother. It's a whole story. Maybe one day I'll get into that. I have I was going to say 5 siblings, and the younger 2 are the closest to me in age. And I didn't live with them or know them for quite some time. So I grew up as a single child. Even though I eventually knew I had siblings, I did not meet them until later on towards the end of my single digit years. So I lived as if I was an only child. So I learned how to adapt around adults. My mother is closer to me in age, so when how I acted around her was different than how I acted with my grandparents. How I would act with my aunts and uncles, how I'd act with my cousins and my friends and any other adult. I adjusted myself because the way I would talk to my mom and she would receive me was different than the way that I would talk to my grandparents and they would receive me, because the age difference and all the other stuff going on. And so I trained myself how to do that. And now part of that was definitely a trauma response, but that's just kind of also who I am. I'm an observant person, so I kind of get to learn people and all that stuff, but it definitely was a trauma response. I mean, just call it what it is. And so I would alternate and change up how I'm going to show up, what version you I'm going to give, all that good stuff, because this is what I felt like you needed. And over time, like initially, let's be honest, it was always exhausting. But because I told myself for years, this is how you have to show up, like what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna be irritated by it, but I'm still gonna pull up and show up doing this because this is what I feel like I have to. I don't have any other option. I don't have any other choice. So I have to adapt myself based on who I'm with and what's going on to best protect myself. That's how it felt like what I had to do. And by the time I started coming to church, I started realizing more and more the ways that I functioned was unhealthy, toxic, not right. And I'm not saying that like I was out here just being foolish and trying to do things that were hurting myself or hurting others, but a lot of it were things that I was never shown, things that I was never taught, or I was taught the opposite, and how to manage certain things or show up in certain ways. And so I did what I felt like I had to do. But I realized that this is not it. This is not helpful. And so let's see. I've been saved 12 years now. And honestly, within the last few years, last 2 years, I can honestly say that I've been putting in the work to not be this way. Honestly, the last year. Yeah, around the last year. Moving to Georgia, a lot of things shifted in my life because I was removed from certain things and had to start over, because when you move from one state to another, you're starting over. You know what I'm saying? Even if you're moving I don't know, with family or a place that you've visited frequently in your life, you are still starting over in a new place. This is not some place that you have lived in consistently for a majority of your life, or even if you did, you're still starting over, right? So I've come to a place where I've realized that it's not helpful for me to constantly give people a version of myself that I think that they need. I was shrinking back who I really was and how I wanted to show up because I was afraid of being rejected. I was afraid of being abandoned. I was afraid of being hurt. I was afraid of being misused and abused by people. And so instead of trying to give myself completely, I would shrink back and then puff up certain parts of myself that I felt were useful. But I'm still suppressing how I actually want to show up. Even being able to say like no and just certain things like that. I wasn't fully walking in who I was made to be and giving people who I was because I was too busy afraid that who I was not enough. I felt like no matter how much I tried to show up as myself, it wouldn't be appreciated, it wouldn't be loved. If I wasn't the funny kiki friend when I didn't feel it, then everybody would leave me. If I wasn't super loving when I just didn't have it in me and could just say like I just don't have it in this moment to, you know what I'm saying, to like smother you in hugs and kisses and give you whatever version of me you want me to give. I need some time to myself or whatever. I had never felt safe to do that. And so I had to learn, and I'm still learning to guard myself and to not shrink back in that capacity. Because it got to a point, and it will get to a point if you're not there, where you start to not be able to recognize yourself because you're so busy giving people every, whatever version of you feel like they need to get, that they then treat you as if that's who you are. Even to this day, the amount of people who really don't know who I am, who have known me for years, who have spent so much time with me, is mind-blowing. But I can't be upset at them because I didn't show up authentically. I didn't give who I was in totality. I gave them what I thought they needed. Am I still gonna kiki and be loving and laugh and do all the things? I sure am, because that's who I am. However, I don't have to pretend to be something that I'm not to coddle someone else, to make them feel safe. Not saying that we shouldn't create safety for people, but creating this false sense of safety to appease them when I'm really hurting myself and I'm not making myself feel safe. That's not it. Because then people would talk to me or say things to me or do things to me based off of who they thought I was and what they thought was okay. And it would just further piss me off because 1, you don't know me. 2, I don't like it. 3, are you paying attention? They are, sis. They are. And this is what you're giving. We can't keep showing up like that. We can't keep shrinking back. We can't keep giving portions of ourselves and thinking that this is going to allow us to walk in our authentic selves. It's just not. It's not going to work. And again, it's so draining. It's so exhausting trying to eliminate certain parts of yourself and say, okay, this doesn't really work and that's not enough. And I don't know, but maybe I'll keep parts. What? We just going in and picking apart the different parts of ourselves that we want to live in and show up as. And it's like, okay, but just be who God made you to be and show up in that, because it's beautiful and it's necessary and we need it. We're not asking you to become something that you're not. We're not asking you to throw away who you are so that other people can have what they need and you're left broken and wounded and unable to identify who you truly are. You are amazing in the ways that God made you to be. Who you are is amazing, and who God made you to be is amazing. Period. End of story. Stop trying to create a different version of yourself because you don't think that it's enough. You don't know what God is going to do when He uses you as you are. Let Him take that thing that you think is useless and let Him show you just how beautiful it is. Let Him take you to the next place that He's trying to take you to. Let Him do the things that He is desiring to do inside of you because it is beautiful and it is God. And He did not make a worthless creation. All the parts of you that are supposed to be there. Now, I'm not talking about those parts that are just traumatic and are, all the stuff that's not supposed to be there. All the character things that are not actually character, it's just trauma responses and stuff like that. We're not talking about that stuff. I'm talking about the parts of you that is real. When you get past all that stuff and you realize who you are, that stuff. Yeah, all that beautiful stuff. And even that stuff can be used. I'm not saying that those parts of you can't be used to be a testimony and to further explain and show people, how we can walk in God and how we can overcome and all that stuff. But it's a whole conversation for another day. There's some parts of us that we think are us and it's really not. Okay. Conversation for another day. But I want you to walk in everything that God has made you to be. I don't want you to shrink. I don't want you to give a half version of yourself. I don't want you to belittle, shut down, or throw away what God, or even tell God, no, you can't use this because you don't think it's enough. You are enough. End of story. Case closed. Case closed. Okay. That's it for this week. Wait, did I have something else? Hold on. I see a little glitch. My alarm went off and disrespected us and made me have to start this little last portion over. So we just gonna pretend we didn't see that if we did see it. Learn to love who God made you to be. The love, that laugh, that voice, whatever. Not everybody gonna love it, and that is what it is. It is what it is, I love y'all. Take care of yourself. Pour into yourself. Show up authentically because it's beautiful. It's amazing. And that's what we do here. We are safe to bloom. Bloom, baby girl. Okay? Bloom. I'll see y'all next time. Bye.